Hi, I'm Peter Byrne from Kassel Painting, and the video for today is kind of an unusual one. It's the reasons why you shouldn't hire us. And I know that doesn't make much sense to you. Why would we put up a video like that on our page? But there are certain circumstances where we're just not the best fit. And if you have the kind of project that's not a good project for us, you're not going to be happy and we're not going to be happy and it's just not going to be good. So we wanted to give you an idea of what sorts of things um, we really are not your best fit for. We have an office in Surrey and we have an office in Vancouver. Most of our painters are Vancouver, Burnaby, New West, close to the city, close to Vancouver. So if we get somebody who wants painting and they're out in Chilliwack, they're way up in Squamish, or even Abbotsford a lot of times, it's a little bit outside of our service area. And what happens is that adds a lot of travel time, which we have to pay for and we have to charge the customer for when there's an excess amount of travel time. And as you know, gas is very expensive now. So if you've got a 8-hour day of painting, but 3 hours of it is traveling, that adds quite a bit to the cost of your job. So if you're too far away, um, it's just not going to work well. And we have a little map coming up here on the video, and you'll see what is our best service area. And if you think you might not be in that service area, we can talk about it and see if we have someone who lives close to where you are, and maybe it's not a problem. But for sure, you don't want to have too much travel time. The next one that's we're not really suited for is large construction projects. First of all, construction painting is a whole other situation. It's like an entirely different business. We are generally geared to repaints. We're a relatively small company. We have several painters, and we will send out crews of 1 or 2 men. And on a construction job, particularly if it's a large construction job, it's it's not a good fit for us. If you think your job might be good, if it's local, if it's all ready to go and you need a warehouse painted or something, that's fine. But if it's something that's going to go on for months, because construction does go on for months, um, that's not really our thing. There's other guys who do that. The other thing is that our painters are generally family men and they want to be at home at night and sleep in their own beds. So they're not the kind of guys that want to go out and, um, you know, be in the bunkhouse, do that kind of a job. The other factor in these construction projects is cost wise, they are really trying to shave it to the bone to make sure that they can win the bid. And when they do win the bid, it's frantic to keep track of costs and cost overruns. And if anything costs more than it was supposed to cost, it's a battle. The bigger the job, the more that whole thing increases exponentially, I guess you would say. So we've done it, we've tried it. It's not really our thing. It's not what we work on these days. It's just to put it simply, those kind of jobs are not our specialty. The next category of jobs that we're not really geared to are called spec homes, which means speculative or speculation homes. This is where a builder will buy a piece of property and he gets a blueprint for a particular house that suits that property and he builds it. And his goal is to build that house as reasonably priced as possible so that he can sell it for more than he paid to put the house up. Obviously, that's business. Um, so these things are super budget conscious. Sometimes you really don't have enough time or you don't have the money to pay the guys for the amount of work that is needed. It's a go, go, go kind of a situation. And you have to decide, am I going to use the cheaper paint instead of the paint that I want to use? And maybe you are now caught up in the whole budget situation. So it just it becomes a headache. The other thing with any kind of construction is that when you are the painter, you're the last one in, and you have to deal with whatever the deficiencies are in the building. If the drywall's not perfect, if the trim is not finished well, you have to try and make up for that by caulking or filling and sanding and trying to make it look good. And then after you've done all that, somebody might come in and say, well, we've got to install these cabinets, or we have to fix, there's a problem with the plumbing, we have to cut a hole in the wall, and you have to do it all over again. And on a low budget project, the painter has a heck of a time getting any extra money for redoing his work once, twice, or three times because somebody has destroyed what he's already done. So um, I'm old. I've been in this business a long time, and it's just not something that we're interested in doing anymore. Okay, the next type of project that it's not a good project for Kassel Painting is big buildings, like tall buildings, like a high rise, something that requires you have a swing stage, which is simply one of those platforms that hangs from ropes, and the guys can walk back and forth on the platform and bring their paint. That's a swing stage. Or a bosun's chair, which is what you would see on the side of a boat. And it is the guy who's working on a boat, he's cleaning or repairing, and he's basically just sitting in a thing like a kid's swing in the playground, and that's hanging from the roof of the building, and he's working down. This is a whole specialized, you'll see the window cleaners with those. That's the biggest thing you see most often in a bosun's chair. So that is such a specialized business. They have to have like mega insurance for many reasons. The equipment is all very specialized, and we don't do it. Yeah, we do jobs that you can access by ladders, which is usually up to a height of about 3 stories, or a boom lift, which is basically one of those man lifts. People call them a cherry picker. It's the lift that has a bucket the guy stands in, and he can lift it up and down, and you can get pretty high. We can do, in most cases, we can do a 5-story building with those. Beyond 5 stories, you're kind of getting into a different type of painting. So that's a specialty. We don't do that. If you think your building may not require that, but you're not sure, call me and we can talk about it. I'm happy to talk to anybody about anything, but that kind of a job, if it requires that specialized equipment and specialized painters, we don't do that. Okay, the next type of job that really is not a job for us is one that requires some kind of specialized skill in some exotic coding or technique. People have called and said, do you guys do Venetian plaster? Eh, We don't. It almost never comes up. And that is something that requires a lot of training. We also don't do wallpaper, again, because that just comes up so rarely anymore. If somebody came to me for wallpaper, I would suggest that you go look for someone else. Wallpaper removal we can do, um, but the actual papering, it's very specialized, and you can't be learning on the job on your cost for my guys to become good wallpaper guys. So it rarely comes up, and as a result, we just don't do it. So this is now the last one, and this might be a bit of a sensitive issue for people, but it is the person who's only looking for the cheapest price. Obviously, everybody would like to have the cheapest price, but the problem with that is usually the customer wants the cheapest price, but he doesn't want the cheapest quality. So then it becomes very awkward for everybody involved. You will find with us, we're usually somewhere in the middle. We won't be your cheapest and we won't be your most expensive. We'll be somewhere in the middle price-wise. And there has to be, on any kind of a project like this, the company needs a little bit of leeway for things that were unexpected that could go wrong, or surprises that can happen on the job. That a wall takes longer to prep than we had counted on. anything like that. The cost of paint goes up. It just actually everything right now just keeps going up, and you go from one job to the next, and your paint's gone up $2 by the time you get to the next project. So it's not there has to be a comfortable price range that we are confident we can do the job and make a bit of money, and we're confident that we can deliver that job to you without nickel and diming you every 5 minutes because something took a little bit more work than we thought. So we will price the job. And if you come back and say, well, we got this other guy and he's cheaper, well, go for it. You know, there may be a good reason that he's cheaper. There may be a bad reason that he's cheaper, but that would be between you and him. So we try to price fairly. We obviously want to compete, but if you are going to get 8 prices and look for the cheapest one, it isn't going to be us. And if it's us, I'm going to be very concerned. I must have made a mistake on the estimating because it should not be the cheapest price. So in this video, we've tried to cover all the different situations where hiring us for a particular job would be like putting a square peg into a round hole. It isn't going to work. We will do everything we can to try and accommodate the job that you need. Um, but honestly, if it's not a good fit for us, we're going to let you know, and you're going to be happier, and we're going to be happier that you got somebody who's very confident and geared to that sort of job. So I hope this video helps. It gives you some information on the types of jobs that are not good for us. Anything else, we would love to do it for you. Thanks for watching.